when I look at the Shatin Evangel Toastmasters Club, it very clearly says that our founding father, Casey, visited Taipei in 2014. He was inspired by TGIF to start this club.
If you're going to start a club, Christian or not, always remember you're not doing it for yourself.
Exactly. Yeah.
Don't think of it as something that, because I want to, get a name for myself, or I want to feel good about it.
Sure.
I think that's a very important thing. I think after all these years being in Toastmasters, that would be the one very important lesson that I really learned is actually humility.
Wow. Welcome to The Story, TGIF and Born to Shine Christian Toastmasters. I'm your host, Joe.
And I'm Paul.
Now, Paul, we're in very different outfits and in a very different environment today.
Yeah, exactly. Were you playing golf with Eric in Japan?
I do kind of look like a bit of a golfer.
Me too.
Well, friends and our dear listeners, dear viewers, we have a special episode. We're recording the day before Toastmasters District 67's annual conference down in Taichung. And we have Paul with us, a special guest.
A very special guest. Somebody he reminded me of just before the show that we've known him for 10 years. And he's come all the way across the Taiwan Straits to visit us from Hong Kong. And his name is Casey. Hi, Casey.
Hello, Paul. Hello, Joe. It's good to see everyone here. This is Casey. I'm from the Shatin Evangel Toastmasters Club in Hong Kong. And it's a great pleasure for me to be here to having a chat with all these great friends here in Taiwan.
Yeah.
And, he says he's a member of Shatin Evangel Toastmasters, but he's actually the founding father.
Right.
Yeah, I was the founding president back in 2016.
Yeah.
2016.
So we have with us the founding father of Shatin Evangel Toastmasters, and we also have another father.
That's right. We have another founding father. And so all of you will remember on our very first official episode of the foundation, we had a wonderful interview with none other than Lester Lin, who is back. Welcome.
Welcome back, Lester.
Thank you. It's good to be here. We have the third founding father, too.
Oh, that's right. And Paul, born to shine. Why?
So Joe, we all looking at you. We all looking at you, Joe.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, yes, I am the only one in the room who hasn't started a club, and now I feel a bit of pressure.
Yeah, you should.
We could call this the Founding Fathers Fraternity International.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
So, Joe, should I go sit on the sofa with them?
Yeah, now you should go. I'm interviewing all of you.
Okay.
But it's wonderful.
Yeah.
And Lester, you've been our only guest to come back twice.
Yes.
Oh, I'm privileged.
Yeah.
Wonderful. And so actually, I wanted to start by just asking you, you've watched our episodes. I'm hoping you're subscribed.
Oh, yes, for sure.
Have you seen more than one or two episodes?
Of course.
Oh,
Gold sticker.
wow. So he's only the third viewer, you, me, and your mom.
So the question I kind of want to start off with is, how have you been enjoying the show so far and like the shape of our story?
I have absolutely loved it.
Okay.
I think it brings so many different dimensions from the different ones that you've been interviewing, from young to old, and the history. It's just been a pleasure to watch.
Yeah. Okay.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And, we learned a little bit about your history with Toastmasters when you were on the foundation. So we'll put a link in the descriptions. But we have not had Casey on before. And so, Casey, this is something which we always ask our guests. Just tell us, how did you get involved in Toastmasters in the beginning? When did you get involved? How did you find out about it? Or who sucked you in? In my case, it was my late wife, Queen. He sucked me into Toastmasters. I sucked Joe into Toastmasters.
That's right.
How did you get sucked into the craziness of Toastmasters?
Well, I think the story, it has to go back further than 20 years ago.
20?
Whoa,
Wow.
Now, to start with, actually, I knew about Toastmasters when I was in college in Singapore.
Okay.
So I've got this friend who is actually a Toastmaster back then, but I didn't like him.
Are we happy you like us?
Yeah. No, I didn't like him primarily because I thought that he was, he was ignoring our call to get him on to do a project work.
I
He said
see.
he would I need to go for a Toastmasters meeting. I can't meet you guys tonight. That kind of stuff. So at the very start, I had I won't say a very good impression on Toastmasters. And then fast forward 10 years later, I think it was 2012. 2013. I was actually on a vacation in Korea. So by that time, I actually have been to Korea a few times, so I knew the place pretty well.
Yeah.
So I was looking to start meeting people,
Okay.
meeting local people. So I went to this language exchange. So there was this lady that I got to know there. And she was actually saying that, we had a good chat, and she was actually saying that, I'm actually attending a Toastmasters meeting on a Monday evening. You're leaving on Tuesday. Would you like to join me? So I said, yeah, I mean, since I got time, so why not? So I went there. And I was quite mesmerized by what happened at that day.
Mesmerized, great word.
That's
great
amazing.
Word, great
Yeah,
idea.
because it was like, everyone was friendly. So it's like, you had that bad impression about that guy,
Sure.
that guy. And then when you are actually in a real Toastmaster setting, you see all these people, you feel, okay, this is very different from what I thought Toastmasters would be.
Okay.
So at the end of the meeting, that Korean friend threw me a challenge and said, hey, Casey, I'm actually trying to complete my CC, or the competent communicator back then. So I'm trying to complete my CC in a year. So would you like to do it together with me? So let's see who gets to do it first.
Ooh.
So I said, okay, yeah, why not? So, I mean, she already obviously had a head start because she was already a member and I wasn't. So I went back to Hong Kong to look for a club to join. And 1 month after that meeting, I became a Toastmaster.
Wow.
Yeah, so I first started with Victoria Toastmasters Club
That's
in
a
Hong
huge
Kong.
club, right?
It is. It's actually the second oldest club in Hong Kong.
Wait,
Wow.
what? Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was set up in 1958.
Yeah.
The oldest club was Hong Kong Toastmasters
Sure,
Club, set up in 1954.
Okay.
So Victoria was the second. It's 1958, and I spent a good few years over there.
Okay.
And yeah, so it's in quite an essence, that's how I became a Toastmaster.
Okay. And
Yeah.
did you manage to finish your CC in a year?
Uh,
Who won the race, Casey? Who won the
no,
race?
obviously she won the race because she got a head start.
Yeah,
But I
sure,
think
sure.
I finished my CC within a year as well.
Not
Okay.
bad.
And
Yeah.
I actually did my 10th speech at their club.
Wow.
At the Korean club.
In Korea.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic. And just a little bit like just because this was one of Lester's biggest beefs with people joining the club.
Yeah.
And it's what I continue to say. I'm sure you do as well. When I joined and whenever anybody joined back in the day, Lester would go up and say, if you want to grow, finish your CC in a year.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah, for sure.
And so I kind of translate that out now into the new Pathways program. I don't look at levels because, to be honest, I don't really know what the levels are. But I always say to people, you have to do 10 speeches in a year. And I don't care if you got 2 paths, 3 paths, 4 paths, if you do 10 icebreakers from 10 paths, I don't care. I always tell people did you find having that foundation helped you a lot as a speaker?
Yeah, I definitely think so. Because it's for me, speaking in front of an audience was not an alien concept to me, to be
Okay.
honest. But to be actually speaking in a way that people actually listen.
Sure.
They listen not because you are their director or their manager or what, but as someone who is just a member of the audience. I think that takes practice. And when I did my icebreaker speech, I still remember my evaluator was actually saying that, we all know that icebreaker is supposed to introduce yourself.
Sure.
I talked about my experience in the Singapore Army.
Sure.
And the evaluator actually said, I knew a lot about the Singapore Army, but not you.
Oh, okay.
So,
yes, I see.
Yeah, so that kind of got me to think, so when I'm actually doing a speech,
Yeah.
I need to, really focus on the objective, what I really want to tell people. And I think it was during those 10 speeches that you gradually discover how you become a better speaker in that sense.
Sure.
Of course, by the end of the 10 speeches, you're not going to be a professional.
Of course not.
But at least you know that when you're going on the stage, you can control the stage. You can tell people what you really want to tell them and get them to listen to you.
Yeah. And so, Joe?
Yeah, no, I wanted to go from how you joined Toastmasters in general to how you discovered TGIF. And I imagine both, because you've known Lester also for a while. So I was curious, what brought you into TGIF? How did Lester suck you in? What was that process like?
Oh, okay. Yeah. I think it was 2014. I was again on vacation.
You have a lot of vacations.
Yeah, I did have a lot of vacation back then. Yeah, so I was on vacation in Taiwan, in Taipei. At that time I was still a pretty new Toastmaster.
Sure.
So I was hoping to see, how are the other clubs doing elsewhere.
Right.
Yeah.
Because back in Hong Kong, we are in the same district as a lot of cities in China.
Sure.
So I have been visiting clubs in mainland China,
Sure.
but not in Taiwan.
Okay.
So that was my opportunity. So I was looking around. I was looking around for a club to visit, and sure enough, I was here in Taiwan on a Friday.
That's a good time to give you a
Exactly. TGIF meets on a Friday.
Yes, it does.
So that was how I came to the club. And I still remember when I came in, there was this little label, you need to write your name.
Yeah.
I still have that label at home.
Wow.
Yeah, I still have that label at home. And I still remember it was Lester's office, right?
That's
that
right.
place. Yeah. So I was, at that point of time, actually, I was a little amazed that, you guys are having a meeting in an office. And so there were a lot of people. There were a lot of people. And people were enjoying themselves.
Yeah.
So I was like really awestruck by that.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, so this is how fun Toastmasters can be.
Yeah.
You know, it's not just people giving speeches that you applaud because, you are Toastmasters.
You have to be nice.
So generally, people are just enjoying themselves.
Right.
So I really like that experience. And the fact that it is a Christian Toastmasters club gave it that little bit of age.
Sure.
I'm not comparing, but
sure.
this is an experience that I'm not getting elsewhere.
Sure.
So that kind of sparkled me to, keep thinking, this could be something that we can do in Hong Kong.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now,
sorry.
actually, I wanted to jump in because I see both of us are starting to point toward Lester. You go first.
Well, I was going to say, do you remember the first time meeting Casey?
Oh, yes, right.
What
How can we
like?
forget him?
Good job, Paul.
As you can see
Yeah,
right now, Casey's just so bubbly and so enthusiastic.
Yeah.
So,
but I want to test your memory, Lester. Do you remember the second time you met Casey?
oh my gosh, let's see.
Do you remember the second time you met Lester?
Conference?
No. I think it was still a meeting. It
Yes.
was still a meeting.
It was so remember Dr. Lawrence. He
Yeah.
was doing his HPL program, and his HPL program was to organize a set of speeches from esteemed members in the Toastmasters fraternity, and then he asked you to give a sharing on, I think it was a Tuesday, Wednesday night at LV.
Oh, that's
Leadership
right.
Village.
Yeah.
And you were there. And then Casey was still on his vacation.
That
Because
same
was
vacation.
it was the same vacation. And so we met Casey twice within 4 days.
Oh,
Do you
that's
remember
right.
that?
Yeah.
Yeah. And do you remember the title of your your workshop?
This is such a
My
quiz.
workshop. Oh my gosh. No, I don't.
Let's Grow with Love or something like that. Yeah.
Was it at the Tatung University?
Yes.
Oh,
yes,
yes,
exactly.
yes.
The White House,
I-
right? They call that
exactly.
place the
Yeah.
White
The
House.
White House.
And you
Yeah.
remember your expression? Not your expression was, I've never seen so many DTMs in one room.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah,
It's
definitely.
funny about DTMs. I mean, the late Harrison Lee,
Yeah.
you know what he would say DTM really stood for?
For what?
Disappearing Toastmasters.
It's
Instead-
interesting that you brought that point up
Yeah.
because a couple of years ago, I was invited to speak at the Korean, in the Korean National Conference, the Toastmasters Conference.
Oh, wow.
There. My workshop topic or my speech topic was "Don't be a DTM," where DTM means disappearing Toastmaster.
But Alice Kerr, when I submitted my DTM, she was the VPE of Born to Shine Christian Toastmasters. And when I submitted it to her, I gave her also, I said, by the way, now you can submit my DTM. She said, oh, congratulations. Now you're a double troublemaker.
For Paul Sharp, for you, double troublemaker is the better way.
So you would ask Lester something.
I
Yeah.
actually, so for those who aren't familiar with that scene, I was going to ask Lester if you could describe like where that first meeting happened. Because you say office. Office means a lot of things to a lot of people. But if you want to describe like what did those early day TGIF meetings look like and where they happen?
Okay, so in my office, we had sort of like a central space and then offices around the perimeter.
Yeah.
And so the nights for TGIF, there was a person that visited from Finland. This
what was your name again? Doug's friend.
Oh
Doug
my
was
gosh, the lawmaker.
The lawmaker.
Katrina.
Yes.
Katrina, yes.
Yeah.
And she donated folding chairs.
Yes, all those blue
What?
chairs. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
So
I
we
thought those
got-
were just yours.
No, so we got all these blue chairs. We'd fold them up, and then every night before the meeting, we'd set up all these chairs in the middle, and hoping there'd be enough space because we'd fill it up, and then we had to. At one time, I remember we had to borrow the sofa from the first floor lobby.
Yes.
We dragged that in there, and some other chairs. I think it was 70 some people in
72.
the office. It was like so jam packed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I remember. Like that office was just like as you described it, was just so much full of joy and happiness and just warmth and just care. Yeah, Casey, we also really do want to understand a little bit about you and your relationship to TGIF, because I was looking at our record and you were at TGIF in the November. You came for our 100th meeting. You were at the inauguration for Born to Shine. You were at. Remember, we had that huge like end of term dinner when Joe and I stepped down.
Like 150 people.
Yeah. You came all, and I remember that because you had some trouble with that, and you had to fly all the way to Kaohsiung and then get on a train from Kaohsiung.
Oh yes.
Oh, I remember that.
I still remember that. Yeah.
So like you have like literally like traveled a great deal of time to spend time with us. What is it about TGIF and by extension Born to Shine that just like keeps you coming back to us? What is it, the thing that inspired you, and what is the thing that like attracts you to the club?
I think the most important reasons for me to keep coming back to TGIF and Born to Shine is obviously the three people who are sitting here.
Okay.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I think what you guys are is that you're a personification of warmth, care, and passion.
Yeah.
Because every time I come to, sometimes when we go to Toastmasters Club meetings, you know the atmosphere is not very right. Sometimes when you're at some clubs, it doesn't feel very right. It's not like people are not interested. It's just that they are doing the same things over and over again to a point where they are not passionate about it as much as they did in the past.
Yeah.
But every time I come to TGIF and by extension Born to Shine, it's like you're always getting so hyped up, so excited about what's going to happen in the next 2 hours. Which is why, like,
crazy.
Oh God, I was like, okay, this is the kind of club that I want to be in. We don't really, sometimes in Hong Kong, I'm not criticizing anyone. I'm really not. But it's just that, we are not as, crazy in quotes.
I like the quotes.
Yeah. I think the passion, it's something that I really liked. Yeah. So I think that's one of the reasons why I keep coming back.
Okay.
And and of course the friendship of the friends that I've made here. We see so many people in Toastmasters, but there will always be some whom you will always remember, always at the back of your minds. And I think the people here at TGIF and Born to Shine, they are the ones that are always at the back of my mind.
Wow, thank you so much. How does that make you feel, Lester? Like as the founding father of our club?
Just so warm inside. I'm just gushing. Thank you, Lord.
When you set up the club, like you were if you go back to the foundation and we can look at your history in Toastmasters, you started in Prestige. You were Metro, then you were Metro President, then you went in, did a rescue job on Prestige. But how does TGIF differ from Prestige when you were there, not now, and also Metro when you were there, not now? Like how does the spirit of TGIF differ from those clubs? Is it like what Casey's saying about the difference between TGIF and the clubs in Hong Kong, Born to Shine, the clubs in Hong Kong, or how do they differ? And was this your goal?
Okay, so I had very happy times in Prestige
of course you did,
and Taipei Metro, and very good friends to this day, which I really adore.
Me too. Yeah.
But I think the aspect of really having on my heart placed a mission to do the Christian Toastmasters Club with the love of God as the foundation. And I think that's a very important aspect, that what we built on from the roots, that we try to share with every single member that comes into and every visitor that comes in. I think that is the key, how would you say, where we branch off with a certain goal in mind that may be just a little bit different than some other clubs. Yeah.
And I think your experience truly reflects like Lester's founding value. Like every single guest is treated as a VIP guest that God himself sent, right? And I think that's kind of what you felt.
Yeah, indeed.
That's huge. Well, there is so much more to talk about. We're going to take just a quick break.
Indeed. We deviated a lot from the questions, Joe.
I sent them questions, but we're just taking a journey.
We're way off track, yeah. But we're going to take a break, yeah?
Let's take a break. TGIF and Born to Shine's YouTube channel offers a host of different kinds of videos and playlists. One of my favorite playlists that Paul Sharp put together is his Leaders playlist. This is an amazing collection of speeches from our past presidents, VPEs, and other really important leaders within our club. It's a great source of inspiration and some good life lessons as people share about their experiences and challenges and successes as being leaders. Go check out Born to Shine and TGIF's YouTube page and that playlist, The Leaders. Welcome back. And we have been having a wonderful conversation.
Fantastic conversation.
With Casey and Lester and Paul, founding fathers. This could have been the founding fathers episode for all I know. But we have a lot to get through and very little time before all of us run off to Taichung. And so, Paul.
So Casey, you've shared a lot with us about your experiences with TGIF and Born to Shine. Yeah. And we've revisited some of that history. But we want to now get into, when I look at the Shatin Evangel Toastmasters Club, it very clearly says that our founding father, Casey, visited Taipei in 2014, and he was inspired by TGIF to start this club. What was it about TGIF that made you want to start a Christian Toastmasters Club in Hong Kong?
Obviously, the experience that I have had was something that I want to replicate, I would say. But I think the more important reason was that because it's a Christian Toastmasters Club, so obviously we do have we have Christians in the club.
Sure.
One thing that I've always been thinking is that in our work of evangelism, sometimes I always struggle with this question: why do our brothers and sisters, when they try to do evangelism out there, they are not succeeding? Sometimes I'm not sure about you guys, but sometimes I do see people from churches, in Hong Kong. They would just go out on the street, starts to preach, start to share the good news, which is great.
Sure.
But why do people turn away?
Sure.
That was one of the things that I've always been thinking with, and one of the reasons I came up with was maybe, just maybe, if they were equipped with the speaking skills to actually know how to engage their audience, they could improve in that area of work. So my rationale of wanting to start a Christian Toastmasters Club in Hong Kong primary was that.
Okay.
So to give our Christians an opportunity to practice speaking, have more opportunity for communication, so that when they're in a situation where they could tell people about the good news, they would at least have the skills to do it. So that was the reason why I really want to do it.
It's funny that you talk about this, because I remember someone once joking with me that pastors sometimes don't even have good speaking skills. And if you got pastors together and got them into that program, you could have Toastmasters.
Who said that? That sounds like a Lester thing.
That wasn't Lester.
That sounds like Lester.
I wish I could get credit for that.
But
was it you, Lester?
But what I like hearing, though, is that it echoes a little bit of what Lester talked about in the foundation, about also equipping people. Now, Lester had taken the idea of working with small groups, like cell groups from church, and building off of that. But I like what I'm hearing here, and just to pivot just a quick moment, this idea that Christians sometimes struggle with how to talk about their faith in a way that's appreciable to the outside world. I think it's a really crucial thing, and it's a thing that sometimes through Toastmasters am working on. We had an episode with Kuan and Sally. There's this kind of struggle sometimes of knowing how to get that, and I like that perspective you come at it with. I want to equip people to be able to share the good news and share their testimonies and witness in a way that people will actually want to listen. Yeah, that's huge.
But wasn't that part of the TGIF founding, to teach, to preach, to tell?
That's right. Teach, preach, and to make disciples of all nations.
That was part of the ethos.
In order to do that, if you're going to teach and preach, you've got to be able to talk.
Exactly.
And if you're going to talk, you need to talk effectively.
It's absolutely a huge skill. And being able to, I think, combine good speaking skills, your personal testimony, and also something that I appreciate about Paul is the way that he also puts in a lot of theology.
Oh, yeah.
Recently.
The past couple of years. Yeah.
Well, we spoke about that on the other one. There's a new guy in our club which you haven't met yet, Kuan, and he's a very, very committed Christian, true brother in the faith, and he just gets up and just preaches the gospel, man. Awesome. every time, like every time he gets up, like every time he gives a speech, it's like something about the Bible, something about biblical marriage or biblical relationships, those kinds of things. He's just like a man. And I was like, why aren't we doing that? I was just like 23-year-old kid showing me what we should be doing, and so I decided, okay, I want to like follow after Kuan.
Power of youth.
Yeah.
This actually. I keep taking the mic. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. Run with it.
But Paul mentioning Kuan and also our sort of stories evolving in TGIF, Lester as well. In your club, were you finding people sharing their faith through speeches?
Well, I think for an initial part there were, because we had a bigger Christian member base.
A congregation?
No, not congregation. I wish it was a congregation size. But yeah, we had a slightly larger Christian member base at the beginning. So it was, at the beginning, it was actually not doing too bad.
Okay.
But of course, ultimately when you do, we can't keep ourselves as being, Christians only club.
Sure.
We want to welcome people in as well.
Of course.
So as more and more people come in, the element of the faith within the meeting actually does get diluted over time. And I think that might be the biggest challenge for any Christian Toastmasters club. As your member base grow bigger, and there might be a point in time where there are more non-Christians than Christians in the club. And so having the conversation of the faith within the club could become a little bit more challenging. Yeah, but then again, if someone is totally against this faith, they probably won't be in here in the first place.
Yes, fair enough.
So in a sense, it is still also a ground for where the good news could be spread. So it's just a matter of taking it up and do it. Yeah.
Sure. For my part, I think it's very important. I like what you said, like we're not a congregation, because that's kind of what we spoke about with the faith with Kuan and Saturday. Is like we are a Christian-oriented club, but we're definitely not a church.
Yeah, yeah. If they wanted a Sunday service, they go to a church.
Go to church.
Right.
And we strongly recommend that people do not substitute Toastmasters for church. We strongly recommend you can come to our club. Great, we welcome you, but you need to be in a local church.
Yes.
In wherever you're living. Yeah, we do recommend that. But I'm sure you also know we've started a YouTube channel for the last couple of years.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, there's a YouTube channel?
Where the videos of this podcast fly occasionally, and part of that vision which I had basically was just to record people's voices, because some people leave and I want to remember them. But Lester, the last time you were on the podcast, you were talking about doing online meetings, that kind of thing, and you mentioned growing the club through live streaming. What do you think about clubs like TGIF starting in other places?
That's something still very dear to my heart, except that I think we've had some conversations that there's a lot of things, if you go on like streaming, a lot of things you have to consider, and a lot of things that I had never thought of. So it's still contemplating my mind and how we can do this. But so, my inspiration was from our church, which was streaming the meetings ever since day one. And then when COVID came, we were very ready for that. But basically, I feel like it is important that we try to find a way to continue duplicating, or not a photocopy, because just like when Born to Shine was started, it has its own personality, and I'm very glad that I didn't stick, it should be TGIF 2 as Born to Shine that you wanted, and said, okay, Paul, run with it, right? But
TGIF 2.
I would love to see more and more people that get inspired to start a Christian Toastmasters Club.
Because, Casey was inspired to start a Christian Toastmasters Club in Hong Kong. And the reason why I'm going on a little bit about the YouTube channel is not to promote it. Subscribe.
I'll look at all the
But the reason why is because recently I had a conversation with our VPPR of TGIF, Kelly Lay, and I was trying to promote the YouTube channel. She's saying, like, what's the point of it? And I was kind of tapped into what you said about streaming our meetings live, because it seems that we TGIF and Born and Shine want to be a local club with a global impact.
Right.
Right. That's what we want, and that's what the YouTube channel set up for now. That's where we're at. We're over 1,000 videos with only like I think 300 subscribers or something. Very happy about our 317 subscribers. We're going to explode one day, maybe after this podcast with Casey. But it's this idea of being a local club with a global impact. But to have the global impact, do we really need to be known as the club having that impact? Like, I'm sure if we go to Shatin Evangel Toastmasters, maybe they read their website, but probably most members don't know that Casey visited Taipei and was inspired, especially the new members, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. Does that still fit with your vision, like just inspiring duplicate Christian clubs around the world to expand the influence of TGIF around the world as a local club with a global impact? I sound like HSBC.
Yes.
You really
Your
do.
local global bank.
I think
Sorry,
it's,
HSBC.
I think it's important. We're not trying to build a brand.
No.
You know,
we're not,
basically we sow the seeds and pray
exactly.
that God will bless it, and there'll be
Exactly
fruit that
right.
comes from it.
Okay.
That we don't need credit for. You know, like
Okay.
When
we're
you
just so happy if the seeds grow.
Sure.
When you talk about this brand, it sort of makes me wonder, like, when you first started your club, what did a regular meeting look like? Can you walk me through, like, what that meeting would look like? And I'm kind of curious how that resembles or doesn't resemble TGIF.
I think for a lot of parts, I would love it to resemble TGIF, but of course, people, the constitution of the people are quite different. How people are made up in the club is quite different. So instead of having someone playing the guitar, we usually just play a video of a song, of a worship song.
Okay.
So we still do sing.
Okay.
Yeah, and of course we start with a prayer and then we sing.
Sure.
And then we go into the speeches, pretty much, what you expect at TGIF. At least, the TGIF that I attended 6 years ago, prior to COVID and all that. And so for the most part, they are pretty similar, I would say. But I think what is very different is that I think you do need very passionate people in the club that is willing to, arouse everyone, to get them to sing, get them to cheer, get them to clap along, even if they're not Christians.
Sure.
So I think if God could provide these people to us, I think we'll have a very exciting, very interesting meeting.
Do you do the huddle at the end? The huddle prayer?
People are not comfortable doing it.
It's Hong Kong, man. I don't know.
People weren't comfortable doing it aboard the Shan. I made them do it. I would say, I've been to Hong Kong for a number of years now, but I would say that Hong Kong and Taiwan are definitely, I think we all know it's a very different culture.
Yeah, we're very different culture.
Absolutely, yeah, it's very different culture. Yeah.
Yeah.
I also want to, you described your meetings, but I'm also just curious because when Lester was on the foundation, he spoke about setting up the club, the challenges of setting up the club. Who was with you on that journey? Because Lester spoke to us about, one of the biggest people who helped him was a guy called Douglas Huang. Doug,
of course.
And also some of the challenges, like the objections, like, oh, you can't have a Christian club. Who helped you along the journey of starting this Toastmasters Club? I think earlier you mentioned Judy, maybe.
Yeah.
And then also, what were the challenges in starting a Christian club in Hong Kong?
I think primarily, first of all, obviously, it's the people.
Sure.
According to Toastmasters regulations, you need 20 people to start a club.
Sure.
Yes.
So finding those 20 people is a challenge.
Yeah, Hong Kong's short of people.
Yeah. That's why we are bringing everyone
Hong Kong
in.
is short of people with free time.
I think that's the key point because when I first started the club, when I had that idea, I wanted to be a place where people would go after their Sunday service.
Oh.
So our club meets on Sundays.
Yes.
So back then, when I was attending a church in Shatin, this town called Shatin, my service ends at about 12:30. So our meeting started at 2:30. So I could grab lunch and then go.
I see.
So, and Shatin is a very residential town.
Okay.
It's not like your Xinyi, your Taipei 车站, that kind of area.
Sure.
So if you're not around the area, you don't live around the area, you make a trip to go there.
Sure.
So people were telling me that, hey, Casey, this doesn't work. Okay, having a club on Sunday in Shatin, it doesn't work.
Oh.
Because Sunday is everyone's family day.
Sure.
And so they are not going to spend a Sunday afternoon doing speeches with people.
Yeah.
And in a place like Shatin, which is about at least 45 minutes away from town center, city center.
Okay.
So that was obviously one big challenge. But I thought that, look, if I wanted to be, you see, Christians are supposed to be in church on Sundays.
Sure.
And Sunday service usually ends around 12:31. So after they're done with the service, they can come to church. I'll come to our meetings.
Yeah.
That's why I have it on Sundays.
Okay.
If you're not willing to go home a little bit later after church, then maybe you may not want to come to a Toastmasters club anyway.
Yeah, sure.
So that was obviously the biggest challenge, having it on a Sunday and in a residential area. Of course, finding people, finding location. Locations in Hong Kong are crazy.
Yeah, sure.
But
I can imagine, yeah.
But we were very blessed. Judy, like you mentioned just now, we actually meet in a school.
Yeah.
We meet in a high school.
Okay.
Judy is a teacher there.
Ah.
Was a teacher there. And then we have a few other new members who were also teaching there.
Okay.
So that kind of got us a few new members. And usually, you know how people are being brought to the faith? Someone invite them to church.
Sure.
Right. Yeah.
So for us, it's the same thing. We invite someone to the club. So
Sure.
we, in our own churches or in our own, area of work and all that, we would invite people to come. So we started our first demo. We had our first demo meeting in March 2015. The idea was born in around end of 2014 after I came to the club.
Sure.
Then in March 2015, we had our first demo meeting, and we kept running meetings as if we were already an established club. And I think by 2016, in March 2016, we managed to get all the 20 members needed, and then the club was officially chartered.
Wow, that's quite the journey to get
Yeah,
the
it is,
numbers.
yeah.
It is. It was something that I still look back with very fond memories because I'm not an extrovert person, extroverted person that go around, hey, sing, hi, dragging people in. I'm very much. Yes, nobody believes it. Nobody believes it. Nobody believes it.
I believe it because I'm the same as you.
Yeah, it's like if I'm with friends, I can be very talkative.
Sure.
I can talk a lot. But
I hear you.
Yeah,
I hear
but
you,
in front of strangers, it could be very hard.
Yeah.
And I'm not that type to, when new people come in, I'm not the type to go and say, hi, my name is Casey, how are you doing? I'm not that type. So it was very difficult in a sense for me to, needing to overcome that. But I knew I had to do it because I was the founding president. So it's kind of like my role or my responsibility to actually do that. And then we have people coming in, some of them Christian, some of them not. And eventually managed to find the 20 people we needed to start a club.
Wow.
And the club has been around ever since.
Wow, inspiring.
Right?
Really an amazing story.
I love it. And it's interesting because I feel that your club story and TGIF's story, there's some parallels,
Yes.
Especially, starting a Christian club that meets on a Friday night, the kind of time when people would rather be anywhere than something associated with Christianity.
Yeah.
And people would say, that's not the night for you to start. That's you're like a Wednesday night club. What are you doing starting on a Friday? And, instead it's a bit of
TGIW doesn't sound so cool.
TGI, thank God it's Wednesday?
Thank God it's a weeknight.
Thank God it's a weeknight.
That's even better.
But, there are always these kinds of struggles, the time, the location, and TGIF and Born to Shine, we've gone through location troubles too. I think every club.
Yeah. Every club has location
It really
troubles.
goes through that. It's hard. So it's interesting to see the parallels, but also the differences. And I love this idea that you're like, well, it's a Christian club. It's kind of Christian training after Sunday. After
Why
Sunday
not?
school.
Everybody's
Why
there.
not? Yeah. Really interesting. I think it's very clever, definitely.
Yeah. I think you're up, Joe.
Oh, we've been flopping questions.
We've been flopping
We're
questions
going,
around.
but
yeah.
actually, we're starting to head toward kind of the advice portion of this.
Yeah.
And I want to ask both of you. Actually, I want to ask all three of you. What do you have to say for people who are wanting to start a club? And what would you say to people that are interested in starting specifically a Christian club? And I think this is a question that all three of you are very well suited to answer. I'm going to start by proximity and going from who came furthest, and that would be Casey by default.
No, actually, you could have Lester start first. He came from the States. No, but I'm happy to share. I think, first of all, to start a club, I will still go back to the thought of why do you want to do this?
Sure.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have conviction about doing it,
Sure.
you're never going to succeed.
Sure.
So I think that's the most important thing. As for starting a Christian club, I think one thing that I might want to share with everyone out there who wants to do this is that, yes, it's a Christian club, but do remember that we are not just catering to Christians.
Yeah, sure.
It is a tool for us, or a platform for us to share the good news. So we can't make it. But on the one hand, we need to keep it Christian. But on the other hand, we can't make it completely Christian.
Sure.
If you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It's like, because if you are going to turn a Toastmasters meeting into a church service, then people just need to go to the church.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that would be my one of my advice. And if there might be another thing that I want to share is that if you're going to start a club, Christian or not, always remember you're not doing it for yourself.
Exactly. Yeah.
Don't think of it as something that, oh, because I want to, get a name for myself, or I want to feel
Exactly,
good about it.
Sure,
Yeah,
sure,
I think that's a very important thing. I think after all these years being in Toastmasters, that would be the one very important lesson that I really learned is actually humility.
Wow.
It's not so much about you getting all the titles or getting all these positions or getting championships and all that. Well, they're nice things. They're great things.
Sure.
But you are not here for just that. You are here to, make yourself a better person, and in the process, influence and help other people become better versions of themselves.
Sure.
I think that would be one advice I would like to give people.
That's a big one advice.
Yeah.
It's really no, but I think it's good.
Yeah, it's good advice, yeah.
The sort of attitude you go at it, the perspective of how a Christian club should function or could function, and maybe I'll save the grand founding father for last. So I'm gonna kick it to Paul next.
Well, I echo a lot of what Casey says, like, know your why. I mean, we started Born and Shine because part of it was I wanted to do my DTM and it was an HPL project, but the other reason was that TGIF was just exploding with members, and we, it was becoming a big burden. I've said this before, it became a big burden for the officer team to actually run that. And by starting Born and Shine, we got to meet a whole new group of people. We built a new club. We raised new leaders, and that's really always the why, right? Like, as you said, like helping people grow. That's always been what we've about. I loved what you said about being humble. Like, we always joke that we're the fathers. I mean, other people joke that we're the fathers, grandfathers of the clubs. But at the end of the day, like I always say, like in Born and Shine especially, the person who actually established the club wasn't.
You signed the paperwork.
I signed the paperwork, but the person who actually established the club was Jenny Leo. Like, she came in when the club was almost like dying for various reasons, and she came in as a president completely unexpected, and it was her gifts with people, it was her determination, and it was just her sheer grit that got the club established, solidified. Tina came in afterwards. She grew the club. So, like, yeah, I mean, I kind of signed the paperwork. I had the idea, but there was a lot of other people that did a lot more work than me, and I always want to give those people credit rather than myself, because they deserve it. And so I really like what you said. I appreciate that. In terms of tips for starting a Christian club, I also echo what Casey says. It's not church, so don't make it church. Yeah. But the other thing is, like, if you are going to start a Christian club, and this would be my suggestion is, if your motivation, and this is what I think that I was lacking, and I think Kuan, another young guy, for inspiring me, is that if the goal is genuinely to spread the gospel and to share the gospel, then why don't we do that more in our speeches? Yeah. As the leaders, like, we should be doing that more in our speeches, not less in our speeches. Instead, like, our C1 speech maybe shouldn't be about, where I grew up. It should be how I became a Christian.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I would suggest. Like, if you're a Christian with the motivation to start a Christian club, be willing to stand on the stage and use that opportunity to get used to, because a lot of people are shy to talk about the gospel. They're kind of embarrassed. They think society's going to push back. Use it as an opportunity to get in front of people, to start just giving speeches about your own journey of faith, your favorite Bible verses, your favorite stories from Jesus, your favorite parables. Start talking about those things and start spreading the word, because the word of God is more powerful than our words. Quote the Bible in your speeches. The word of God is more powerful than our words. So that's what I would suggest. Yeah.
Yeah, really integrating that. And Lester.
One thing I'd like to talk about is a very core prayer when we started off on TGIF.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the mindset that it's not us doing this. Yes,
Sure.
we're the hands and the mouths and all this. However, we want to partner with God to do something that he wants to put into existence. And there's a prayer, God, please send the right people.
Yes.
Please send the right people. And we hand this to the Human Resources Department of the Kingdom of Heaven. And the mix of people that God keeps on bringing in, it just continues to amaze me.
Yeah.
And basically, TGIF and Born to Shine, we have more than 50% that
Sure.
are not Christians.
Sure.
So I think God also keeps on feeding in the people, the right people that he wants. That's why we believe that God sent them there. There's intent and purpose for everyone that comes through our doors. The other thing is, you've been saying it's not church, okay?
Well, it's not
I'd like to
church.
give a little bit of a different perspective, because Jesus said, where 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, I'll be there, right?
Yeah.
And that is another core aspect. It's like, we're doing this, Lord, we want your presence here.
Sure.
That's the difference that we want, that as we have our meeting, people will feel the love of God. They will be being fed when we pray. Now I've seen people that haven't accepted Christ yet, but when it comes to prayer, very sincere, because it becomes part of their nature. And this is where someone once said that the disciples, when they were with Jesus, they didn't know he was the Son of God yet. And they were living together, they were fellowshipping, they were doing life together, and that was what led them to know, oh, Jesus, you're the Son of God. And so before they believed, they felt a part of something. And this is where I think we feel just such a family feeling in Born to Shine and TGIF, and it's the family of God. And so when we're gathered together and our intents are have Jesus there, he shows up.
But I still want to emphasize, go to your local church.
Oh, absolutely. For sure.
We are not church.
We are not churches here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we do want to emphasize, carry on going to a local church. You do need to be in a local church.
Yeah.
I want to throw the question to Joe, if you don't mind.
Oh, no.
Yeah, like
Yeah. There you go.
you've heard us, like, sitting on the sidelines, watching us start the clubs. What would your advice be to anybody who, and basically maybe advice to yourself about starting a Christian Toastmasters Club?
Oh, man.
What advice would you give to people? I mean, because you were pretty much part of the foundation of Born and Shine
Yes.
as well. You were there. So what advice would you give, Joe?
I think when you're starting something, even when it's just you with your idea and the concept, the succession plan is huge. And succession involves, to me, discipling.
Yes.
And so even when you are president number 1,
Yeah.
be thinking about who could be president number 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who could be president number 4? Who's going to carry this thing on?
Sure.
And Toastmasters clubs, a lot of times people start them and then they disappear forever. But when you're going to start this kind of, I think especially a Christian club, it requires a different kind of commitment. Because now you're not just committing as a Toastmaster, you're also committing as somebody who's walking on people's spiritual journeys, whether they're Christians or
Sure.
non-Christians.
Sure.
Right? They're all on some kind of
Absolutely,
journey
yeah, absolutely,
seeking
yeah.
something. And once you talk about family, now you're committing on a totally different level. And so I think, one, if Joseph Kalpin's ever starting the other club,
Which he is.
which apparently he is, Carolyn,
Born to Shine too.
Carolyn, I'm sorry, we're going to be a little busy. No, she's going to hear this on Spotify and just absolutely kill me.
Fantastic.
Maybe you and Carolyn could open it, call it the JC Club.
The JC.
Oh, that's Lester.
I know Carolyn's going to be listening to this on a bus somewhere,
Hear
rolling
that,
her
Carolyn?
eyes so hard. But to kind of summarize, one, I think, having the vision of succession, and two, being willing to commit for the long run. And I think those two are really crucial elements. And honestly, I mean, you've lived that out. You're still carrying that banner with you. And then Lester and Paul, man, you guys have been so crazy committed to that family, and it shows. And it's something that you just need to be there day in and day out.
Exactly. I agree with that level of commitment. So we're getting to the end of our podcast today. So sad.
I know it.
So quick. But there's always a set question that we ask everybody. And we're going to ask Casey this, specifically Casey. Casey, how do you hope to grow in the next 5 to 10 years in Toastmasters and in life?
Well, I hope to be able to become a mentor to people, not in your usual Toastmaster sense where a mentor is being assigned to a new member to help with the first 3 speeches, but more like someone who is able to be here and offer assistance to, or offer advice to people who may need it. I think a good mentor shouldn't need to be someone who keeps appearing all the time. Like, I'm here, look at me.
Sure.
Not that type, but more like, someone is having a bit of difficulty, a bit of a struggle. They'll come to you and say, I need some help. I need some advice. Would you be able to afford them to me? And I'll be very happy to do that role. Yeah, because I think after so many years in Toastmasters, I mean, being a DTM means that you probably have done almost everything that needs to be done.
Right, yeah.
So the experience is something that you can share with people.
Sure.
I'm not here to look for further titles. I'm not looking for a second DTM, to be honest.
You don't want a second DTM?
not as urgently, I guess.
Sure,
yeah,
me
I
too.
take my time. If I get it, I get it. But if I don't get it, I think that's fine.
Yeah.
But if I would be able to, give advice, just talk to people that, who would be happy to listen to me.
Yeah.
I think I'll be very happy to talk to them as well. I think that would be something I want to be.
And Lester, the last time you were on the podcast, you spoke about your vision about growing, TGIF out on. But how about your personal goals?
Oh,
Okay.
that
Personal goals.
Well, there's something that's happening that I'm growing in that's inevitable, and it's growing older. That's something I'm really feeling the age, but I think my goal is to grow deeper in my relationship to God, and also grow deeper in the ability to really reach people in their hearts, to reach out and maybe help them cross that final mile to accept the Lord and start walking as a Christian.
Sure.
And that is I guess that desire grows stronger and stronger as we go along. So, yeah.
Beautiful.
It
Well, all of us have trains to catch.
Well, I got one more thing I want to talk about.
Oh.
Yeah, sorry. I was just throwing this out there, Casey used to visit our club a lot, and he used to come out a lot to visit us, and we always promised that we were going to do a joint meeting with Shatin Evangel Toastmasters.
Yeah.
They're on that side of the pond, and we're on this side of the pond.
So somebody's got to cross that
Someone's
pond.
got to come somewhere.
Yeah.
And so now that you're here, and I like to make public declarations. This is a public declaration. I'm looking at the camera now.
Oh my gosh.
Do you think this is something that's still a possibility, like doing a joint meeting with the TGIF and Born and Shatin crew going to Hong Kong, or?
We would love to have you guys there.
Really? Okay.
In fact, actually, I think from day one, that was something that I really want to line up, because you guys are my inspiration, and it's also our club's inspiration. I think to be able to have you guys join us in a joint meeting, I think it will also show our members, whoever that's left, how you guys can actually have that kind of passion towards a Toastmasters meeting, and hopefully that will also rekindle the spark in their hearts to keep the club running.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
Well, that is something which I think that we need to have a serious discussion about on this side of the pond.
In the interim, we could do a joint Zoom meeting.
I realized there was such an opportunity missed. Shoot, now I'm becoming Paul and stop delaying the end of this episode. There was such an opportunity missed with the pandemic. I didn't even, there could have been a online joint meeting at some point. Well, now we need to make an in-person one happen.
Well, we definitely need to get both clubs together. One of my wonderful memories was when Casey of 2016 conference invited me to go to Hong Kong to do a workshop on leadership. And I met a bunch of the people.
And they loved you.
Yeah.
They loved you so much.
I had a great time. And so I think we need to get, that was, I mean, that was Queenie's last time in Hong Kong as well.
Yeah.
Wow.
And she had a great time. So like we really had a wonderful time in Hong Kong, and I have a lot of close memories with Hong Kong. Like a lot of my early life with Queenie was in Hong Kong. So I really go look at these two guys.
Yeah.
We're going to have a conversation, and hopefully we can come across the pond. And because I mean, you've come across 10 times.
We owe you a visit.
If 10 people go that side, it's kind of levels it out, right?
We will be always happy to have more.
Why do I feel like you're planning the first TGIF and Born to Shine outing for next term?
I think I am. Yeah.
You'll be more than welcome.
Yeah,
Everyone from TGIF and Born to Shine will be very welcome at Shatin Evangel.
We will have a conversation. Casey, it's been an absolute pleasure, mate. Thank you for coming just for this podcast.
The pleasure is all mine, man.
And we really appreciate it so much. Yeah.
Lester, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
The only guest to come back twice.
Yeah, and probably the only one who will. Who knows? We might need you to come back a third time.
Yeah. Oh. When we do our last episode, drag him back on.
Yeah, drag it back on.
But thank you so much, gentlemen. And I'll see you all in Taichung.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.